secret for you. Huddle up. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. To quote from Whitman, "O me, O life of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish. What good amid these, O me, O life? Answer that you are here, that life exists, and identity. That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be?"
This is fun. Fashion is one of those things that you can control about yourself. We all have like our outer appearances, but fashion and the clothes that you choose to wear is one of the few things that you can decide for yourself, and you can control how people perceive you because of it. $13? That's a steal. The interesting thing about fashion is that there's so many different styles and like types of clothes. So if you feel like you're one personality one day, you can dress that way, but if you change your mind, then you can wear different types of clothes the next day. So you can really explore your identity with fashion.
When I sing, it really changes my mood. Like, if I'm upset, if I sing, it'll make me feel 10 times better. Like, I can feel the endorphins, like, rushing through me when I sing. And when you're, like, so focused on something that makes you happy and, like, you're able to kind of change things the way you want them and, like, mold them into something that makes you happy, then that's the way I'm able to express myself through it.
Well, I think that art has always been kind of a form of expression for me, like even when I was a little kid. And I think part of it was, as a little kid, I was pretty introverted. And art was like my way of interpreting the world and kind of like showing people what I thought without saying anything.
I'm actually not where I need to be. My flow, that was the best I've been playing.
Oh, I have a story. All right, I was having a really awful day one day, and I came to Chamber Singers, some extracurricular choir thing. And she showed us this new piece about angels guiding you home and how everything will be okay and you'll be taken care of and trouble will pass. And I started like nearly sobbing in the middle of choir because it was just so gorgeous and it was so representative of how I was feeling. And it's hard to always put words to what you're feeling, but music and the notes and the harmonies and how cooperative everybody is in that setting, like just really put it into a pretty little box. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm feeling. It's so good to know that it's not just me and somebody's felt this before and they've expressed it in ways that I can connect to.
What's going on? I gotta remember what I was writing.
I use writing to express like how I feel, like in certain scenes when like certain emotions are happening. I put myself in my past and my experiences and my own emotions into those scenes, but also about like certain situations that like are happening in the world. I kind of like tuck those into my storyline.
Okay, where's my book? There you are.
Yeah, I'll put that one next. I think fashion is one of those things about you that people can see as soon as they see you. So if you're dressed nicely, people will know, oh, she really likes to dress nicely. I also like that, so we can talk about that because I know that we have shared interests just by seeing her.
my family is really integrated in writing. So, like, in that aspect, we share ourselves and our stories and, like, how we feel with our writing with each other. But also just, like, with friends and people I know, I share with them who I am and how I think and how I feel on a deeper level through my writing, because some things you can't just say, you gotta show it.
There's this circle song that we learned a while back where it's just some like simple buena noche, and everybody sings that in like a round, and we had the exchange students from Slovakia come in, and so we just took a children choir and we taught that to her, and then we taught her the dance movement, and she got it. She was loving it. She was singing along, she was dancing, she was smiling, and it was so great because this kid from a completely different background who, I mean, I think that song's in Portuguese, but we're all connecting over like a piece of music that neither of us are necessarily familiar with its culture, but it still drew a connection that would otherwise not be there.
I've found that a lot of my friends that I've gained have been through choir, and being able to connect, like, everyone kind of loves music, but being able to connect musician to musician is something that is really special, because you're able to talk about these little nuances that make you so happy, and these little details in like every piece that you hear, like, oh, you heard that too, you heard that chord progression, that kind of thing, that it's like a really geeky thing to get excited for, but just being able to connect over those little details is really cool.
Definitely for the creative writing, I think we need to bring that more into education to kind of expand kids' horizons and see, like, oh, you're actually good in certain areas and you're actually creative. Why not explore that? Because some people think of writing like, but it's actually really interesting.
I think it's vital. Like, me as a musician has definitely helped me gain confidence. I don't think I would be able to public speak the way I do today if it weren't for being in choir. The focus that people put into music, it's like learning a new language, and by having, like, making those connections in your brain, it really helps in other subjects too. And having like that creative outlet through the day is something like I don't think I could imagine not having. I think it really helps, like, not only be a stress reliever, but also just like a new way for your brain to think.
It's a way to interpret things differently, and I think that's something that a lot of curriculums are looking to do, and like have people be more innovative, but at the same time they're kind of not bringing creative things into that. You want people to be more creative, but you're not allowing them to have the avenue to do so.
Well, a lot of people in our generation are disillusioned with the way the government works, and they feel like they can't really make a change, and I think that's why like the recent movements have been so significant. But a lot of what helps people feel like they're connected to the world and like they're able to make a change is through individual expression, through things like art and music, and it really helps like give them an individual identity and feel like they have a place in the world and that they can affect things.
I think if anything, or like advice I'd have for people to have an experience with art is just to try to see it in anything and like everywhere you go and everything you do, because it really is everywhere. Like, it's from, you know, like the design of a certain soda can to like the actual art that's in the museum, or the way someone decided to color a wall or things. Like, it's really everywhere, and I think that when you start to recognize that, you really grow an appreciation for the choices that people make and like how they convey things visually and the beauty of like everything around. So
awesome.